I'm curious how the 7-year course that you spoke of, right?
Right.
It sounds so fascinating, and it sounds like 10 of you really got so close, and it was like almost like the soul's journey moving collectively,
Exactly.
And 7 years, that's quite a chunk.
It was a chunk. Every Wednesday night we would meet.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, how did that experience inform what was happening with you in entertainment as you were writing and learning the package?
Exactly. Well, it actually, I think the tail end of that course happened around the time that I was promoted.
Okay.
So during that course period, what we were really being trained to do and to participate in was this idea of service, and service to what Georgia would call the one life. We are here to serve the one life. And by the mere fact that we were showing up to take this training, for her and for what she expressed to us was that we were basically part of the evolution of humanity, that we were taking that responsibility and working to activate from an inner place of service, and how we could bring our skills and talents into the world to do that more effectively. At one point in the process, she said, you're going to need to choose what you want to do, either teach this or come up with your own project that you think would be applicable for your own gifts and skill sets and talents. So I said, okay, I'm open to that. I had a husband and a daughter at the time, and I was working at Universal, and it was before my career had really advanced to the next stage, upon the sale of this movie. So I wasn't really attached to my destiny at the time. I was very much about, I want to do what my soul wants me to do, basically, from my deepest place of authenticity. My blueprint. I want to live my blueprint.
Yes.
So I actually went into meditation, into the alignment that I had been trained to do, and I asked Source, what is it that would be best for me? I'm here and I'm open. I'm whatever. Show me. And so I held that question, and shortly thereafter, an image came into my inner movie screen.
Yes.
And the place where my imagination occurs, that I see and visualize things, and a building came into focus, and it had a sign on it, and it said the Center for Conscious Creativity.
Oh, it came out of a meditation.
Yes.
Wow.
So I asked the question, and this building appeared. And I thought, you want me to do a building?
Right.
What's happening in that building? What's that building about? And so I came out of the meditation and I wrote it down, and I started pondering on that question and the image that had appeared.
Yeah.
And what came to me immediately was, oh, this building is a space.
Yes.
And the space is a place which combines these two worlds that I've been living in. This incredible, resource center of this perennial wisdom that is timeless, that informs humanity and has helped inform humanity through the ages, and the studios, and these extraordinarily powerful tools for transformation that we all live and work in as storytellers. And I think the synergy of these two worlds can happen in that space.
I see.
So that was 25 years ago.
That you had that.
Yeah, that was 25 years ago. So I was always holding that vision as I continued through my professional years, and the years that I was a development executive and raising my daughter and being married, and how am I going to do that building someday? And constantly, asking that question, and at what point in time should I do that? When does that happen? And at the time I was so happy with my professional career as well, because I was really fulfilled in the work I was doing and loved it. I loved development, and I loved the people I was working with, and I was really starting to be able to get some material developed that I was passionate about as well, that kind of combined my values and the talents and skills of the people I was working with and for, and their values.
Right.
And so fast forward again, and the job at Paramount, our deal ended.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed on with Dan for another couple years, Dan Pine,
Mm-hmm.
Still in development with him, and then went back to school because the Philosophical Research Society created a master's program, and they had they have two master's degrees, one in consciousness studies and one in transformational psychology. So when I found out that that was being offered there, I immediately enrolled as one of the first, classes of.
The inaugural class.
Exactly.
Of the
Exactly.
program.
Thank you. And at the same time, I was working. Then I went back to work for a show, Law and Order, with Michael Chernichin.
Oh,
who was
cool.
his executive assistant at the time.
Awesome.
And helping him with the show running. And while I was pursuing the master's degree. So I said to myself, and at that time my daughter was then in high school, so she was starting to get to the age where she was more
Doing her own
independent.
thing.
Yeah. So I felt, well, I could start to focus now on whatever the C3 is and how
I
it's going to
see.
become manifested. But I'm going to wait till I get my master's degree. As soon as I get that master's degree, then I'll say, okay, we'll start focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated with that master's in 2004, and the day of my graduation, I was in the reception, and this young man came up to me and said, I really like what you spoke about in your talk, which was about transformational arts and media. And he said, how can I help you? And he was there getting his degree as well, and working at Universal, where I was at the same time, and I didn't know who he was. I had never met him. It was one of those happen chance moments, and that was Philip Horvath.
And that was Philip.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Philip and I together met at the commissary at Universal and talked about our visions and
how
dreams.
about that?
And I told him about the C3, and we shook hands, and he said he'd help get it going with me.
So that's when you launched it, was in
Yep.
2004.
October 2004, we had a little celebration party, and then our first actual activity as the C3
Yes.
was with the Southern California Writers Conference. We came in and themed out a conference they did in 2005, and we called it New Story Paradigm and the Future of Content. And it was all about this conversation that we're having, how to start, bringing
Themes of consciousness into mainstream media.
Right. Exactly.
So when you guys birthed C3, Center for Conscious Creativity, I understand the in the meditation, the vision seemed to be emerging of these two worlds, right? Consciousness and creativity, entertainment.
Right.
Was that essentially the intentionality when you actually physically created it?
Yes.
Yes.
It was.
It was.
It was about bringing these amazing teachers and this body of wisdom and story to the community of artists and media makers, so that they could tap this information and use it in their storytelling, as well as their own personal growth. You know, that it served a double purpose.
Sure.
Because that's the beauty of studying this kind of information
Yeah.
materials, that you grow as you
Right. It cannot affect your consciousness.
Right.
Right. And then in turn, the evolution of your consciousness cannot not affect the entertainment that you create.
Exactly.